start off with, this meeting is being recorded. No swearing. This is from the chair. And you'll be able to watch it again, the review if you like, and people at home, please feel free to watch it again and again and again. And with that, I'm going to call the June 26th meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission to order. Thank you for coming. Friend Marguerite's in the audience, so I'll throw this out there. The world is ruled by those who show up. So, thanks for coming in. First thing is to review and act on the acceptance of the May 2024 meeting minutes, and also we have to approve April because we didn't have a quorum last time, so we couldn't vote on it. Is there has everyone had a chance to peruse through those?
I have looked at the May, and I find nothing wrong with it.
Okay. Anything right with it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the opposite of not wrong.
Make a motion, then we accept the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
So voted. And review and approval of bills and expenses. What do we have?
To my knowledge, there are no new bills or expenses.
All right. So moving right along. All right, so the number 5 is vote to nominate and appoint the commissioner at-large seats by a simple majority of the commissioners holding the abutter seats, Grafton, Shrewsbury, and Worcester. I think we only have the Shrewsbury and Worcester person here. That is my seat at large, and the people who appoint me are the 3 abutters from the lake. So the lake gets to pick a person. The lake abutters get to pick a person on the commission as well as being appointed themselves. In part, thanks to Mr. Piker here, who worked to rewrite the charter some 30 years ago, I guess now, right?
Long time ago.
Yeah. So there it is. Do we have any nominations?
I make a nomination that we vote to approve Peter Collins as the
I'll second the nomination.
at-large person.
Okay, so you two are the voters, so.
Yep.
Do I chair a vote?
You can do that if you want. I mean, it's,
Well, if I'm to chair the vote, of the 3, 2 of the 3 people who would so potentially nominate and vote are here. So I would say all those in favor of having Peter be reappointed, say aye.
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 all right,
Opposed? None. So be it.
all right, thank you. Public participation. I believe we have one person here. Marguerite,
I don't know.
come on up.
Would it be okay if I approach and give you this?
Yes, of course.
I only brought 5 copies, so someone will have to share, but I figured sometimes it's helpful.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Marguerite Cormier. Thanks to the Lake Quinsigamond Commission board members and everyone else who could attend this meeting tonight in person and online to hear what I have to say. My thoughts on the proposed solutions as of today, June 26, 2024. I have personally noticed the increased law enforcement on the big part of the lake, Browning Beach, Lake Park, and Flint Pond at Oak Island is working. In my opinion, the bad actors are being educated, ticketed when necessary, and removed from the lake. I believe word is getting out. The continued law enforcement at the boat ramps before vessels enter the lake is working. If your watercraft or trailer is not properly registered, you'll be fined, towed, and your watercraft will be impounded. I believe word is getting out. If you're not going to obey the lake rules and regulations, the patrolling officers of the lake will find you. Playing your loud music late into the night is stopping as well, in my opinion. I believe word is getting out. I have personally met on the water and have spoken to Officer Tim on the police boat and Officer Matt on the police Sea-Doo craft. They are doing wonderful jobs. Without the commitment and help of the Worcester, Shrewsbury, and Mass Environmental Police, patrolling the lake would not work. I appreciate you all. Concerns and what I'm wondering about, if a child is on a Sea-Doo in the driver position with the parent or adult directly behind them, is this illegal? If so, where can we find and read about this? Interagency communications. Can the patrolling officer, whether it be Shrewsbury or Worcester, on any given day or time, have access to the database to see if these watercrafts are legally registered or legal to be on the watercraft they are using? How does that work? I'm still seeing watercraft beaching on the shores of these two parks, Quinsigamond State Shore, Regatta Point at 10 North Lake Ave, Quinsigamond State Park, Lake Park, 283 Lake Ave. A question I have to Police Chief Anderson: is it possible to use the published reports on what violations have occurred on the lake and at the boat ramp, which was discussed in the subcommittee meetings? The hot weather has a lot of police action taking place. Our hope is we can post a link on the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association Facebook group page so people can see what the police are doing. My thought on Sea-Doos being rented on the lake: is it possible to set up a police trap or sting, have an undercover officer rent a Sea-Doo, then confiscate it to send a message? This is not allowed, and we will take your watercraft if you do this on our lake. Lake rules and regulations at the two boat ramps, I just came from them. Shrewsbury, access, not so good a signage as Oak Island. Oak Island on Route 20 had really good access, especially to the left where the people are gathering far back as you walk. They're easy to read. The font size was 12 or bigger. It's in different languages. I'm answering my own questions because I saw it personally. I'm wondering if it's possible to put a QR code that can be easily scanned for them to see the rules of the lake. We know most watercraft drivers and guests have a smartphone. I did notice what I didn't put in here. There's a barrel there at Oak Island that's full of trash, and it does say carry out. And I asked the people that were there if we were monitoring that or if it was being emptied, but no one seemed to know. But I'm just wondering if that's something that someone's doing to empty it. I'm also noticing a lot of broken and damaged docks and an abandoned boat at 340 North Lake Ave, Worcester, Mass., owned by a Stephen, I don't know, Bar and No or something, littered on the shore in North Lake Ave. What can be done about these eyesores and dangers they create when they float loose when we get lots of rain or huge wakes hit the shoreline from all the watercraft activity and huge wakes created by certain boats? Missing and no wake buoys. At the Narrows, where the peninsula sticks out north side, word is it's sunk. Any chance they have a better quality ones that could this be removed? And also, could this be removed before a boat prop picks it up? Unless somebody shot it, and then that won't matter what quality it is. South side of the Kenneth Burns Memorial Bridge at Ramshorn Island is missing. And in my opinion, these no-wake buoys are working and slowing the traffic down when in place. Except in early afternoons, when outsiders that enter the public boat ramp at the Shrewsbury drop-in, I watch them do this when the police patrol boats are not in yet, mostly at the Narrows where the peninsula sticks out and at the Kenneth Burns Memorial Bridge. I am positive it's only a matter of time before you catch them. Thanks for listening, and I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback at some point where we are with the above proposed solutions and concerns, what I'm wondering about. And that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and I do have I left a little picture for you, which I didn't mention, of where that boat that has been sunken on the waterfront of North Lake Ave for many years now. But I figured under new ownership, maybe they could address it.
All right, thank you. We'll address those concerns, hopefully for our next meeting.
Peter, did I have to sign up to speak?
Yes.
I just wanted to do a quick follow-up on what she said.
Yeah, so this isn't a kind of a back and forth, and that's,
No, it's not back and forth.
no, I understand it. We have a public, participation thing.
Right.
Gary, I'm not,
She said I agree with.
I'm not trying to shut you down, but that's just so we can keep the meeting moving along. But for next month, if you want to speak, all you have to do is notify us by email, and you get 3 minutes.
Okay.
Or a little longer, if I'm not paying attention. So, I'm gonna address some of this stuff, in my report anyway, because it was coming up. And the next item would be, where are we here? Commissioners' reports. Thank you. Commissioners' reports. I'm gonna start with, Mr. Pica.
A few reflections. I have some concerns in terms of utilization of the lake by people who it appears now are developing a habit of mooring their boats overnight on the weekends. Relative to rule number 8, I have some concerns that at some point it could be hazardous for people who would be boating at night. As I've been a member of this commission for many years, I've articulated things like people leaving out these inflatable jumping rafts. But also that's an issue again, that somebody has a swimming raft out in the lake. I've said things like, we can't, Lake Quinsigamond is not Hong Kong Harbor. We can't have the lake start to be filled with people who think it's Camp Quinsigamond and that they can anchor their boat for the weekend and have 1, 2, 3, 4 boats rafted up to it. It just seems to me that the shape of the lake, the amount of use could potentially make that very hazardous. So I want to let that be known that I really don't think it's a good idea that we tolerate that over time, because it potentially could become a big problem. I mean, rafting is now a thing on the lake. That is, on a Saturday or Sunday, there'll be 3, 4 boats rafting together. I'm not taking issue with that so much as people deciding they can anchor and use their boat like a little motel for the whole weekend. I have concerns about that. I have concerns also that it's been reported that a swim raft has been put out in the lake off of Sunset Lane. We don't allow that on the lake. We just can't, okay? The lake isn't that big. Never mind whether they applied for a dock permit or not. I have to say that. Other than that, I hope people will continue to conduct themselves properly this Friday night when the city of Worcester shoots off its annual fireworks. And as usual, there literally may be hundreds of boats between Kings Point, just north of the Burns Bridge. I understand and I expect that law enforcement will be out there, but people, if they encounter in the dark a number of boats that are at rest, that is, they're not moving, people should go at wake speed. Nobody should be charging through a group of boats like that. And my observations, kind of being on the shoreline, witnessing such in the past, is that people have so behaved themselves. That's to the credit of the boating public then on the lake. It's a good thing. But let me just say, I hope people continue to conduct themselves properly come this Friday night. Moving on, an observation. Sitting by the shore having some coffee in the morning, and there goes by 2 white, I'll call them barn ducks with a calico-colored duck, a white, brown, and orange duck. They're obviously not native wildlife. It happens now and then that someone, I think, maybe get tired of taking care of their, pets, and they let them go in the lake and figure they'll have a happy life. Yeah, they will until probably October or November. These aren't ducks that'll fly away. But I just saw that just yesterday. So, these things happen now and then. My observations of our concerns that we've been articulating for the last few months in terms of usage and misusage of the lake. People, the boating public seem to be behaving better, and I have to think it's a function of not just discussions here, a part of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission, but our askings for and getting support from various law enforcement agencies, as has been articulated earlier. There is more, let me use the word pressure in terms of use of the lake. And there are still some bad actors, I'll call it, but their activities, I think, seem to be getting curtailed over time. I just wanted that to be said. For now, Mr. Chair, I believe that's it. I've brought up the concerns that came to mind. The quality of the water, from my observation, is it's fairly clear, but I think everybody knows that with a heavy boating season, there'll be a lot of turbidity. You have heavy thunderstorms like as is predicted tonight, and there'll be a strong flush of drains into the lake, like the Belmont Street drain, which, unfortunately will have a lot of, animal feces and the like that just nature will flow into the lake and it settles down eventually. But, the lake is and has gotten and probably will for a couple of months be very busy in terms of boat traffic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Piker. All right. Mr. Polito.
One item came up at the last Conservation Commission meeting. 101 North Quinsigamond Ave, they came before us. They had a retaining wall that had failed and fallen into the lake. We had given them emergency permission to remove what had fallen into the lake and stabilize the bank, and then come back to us with a formalized filing with a designed, engineered wall to be properly installed.
Okay. So they have a permit to do the work they're doing down there?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Officer Charlin.
Good evening. I'm Officer Charlin, filling in for Sergeant Bradley. I have some information for us for this past month. To start off, he wanted me to pass along that we did have another task force day. It was earlier in the month of June. It was a Saturday. It was another successful event. It wasn't as busy as it was the Memorial Day one. But for that task force day, we had a state police boat. We had the environmental police jet ski along with a boat, Worcester Police's boat, and our boat all out enforcing for that day from 11 in the morning to 11 at night. In other news, our police jet ski is now operational. We had 10 officers trained out on the lake. I believe it was last weekend. It's been in about 4 deployments now as we start to roll out and get used to it. That jet ski will primarily be used for Flint Pond and all of the access that our police boat cannot get to, as well as the main lake when all of the parties seem to leave Flint Pond because we're down there. We'll implement it for the main lake as well. It does blend in very well. It's got discreet lettering, and the couple times that we've had it out on Saturdays, it's been a great asset to the department and for the lake. The buoy at the Narrows was hit again by a prop. It was replaced yesterday by one of our spares. However, we did lose to the buoy in front of Lake Park Beach. It's somewhat just disappeared. Have no idea where it went. It didn't sink. It's just completely gone. And then we had up at Corzini Ramp, we have the center one on the southernmost side. Looks like it's got a huge gash in it from a prop again this weekend. So that one is sunk, and the only thing coming up is the light. As far as enforcement, here's Sarah, if you want to see This month was a busy month for us. May we thought was busy. June was even more. We didn't have nearly as much rain as we usually have in like last year. This month we had 4 disabled boats. We did numerous security checks. We had 1 operation of a boat complaint, and we had 5 for jet skis. This is, I know we mentioned this last meeting. This is where the public needs to let us know. We had a total of 6 complaints for the month about speeders or wake zones or anything like that that were called into the police department. We had 3 noise complaints. We had 122 vessel stops. So like a motor vehicle stop, we stopped 122 of them. There was 1 boating accident. 15 people were removed from the island with the Eagles. 9 different incidents with swimmers out of swim zone. 25 citations were issued to aggressive operators. 5 trespassers underneath the Route 9 bridge. We had 6 Oak Island complaints. There were 5 open liquor violations, which were mainly at the ramps, people drinking at the ramps and where they're not supposed to be. 4 unregistered boats, 5 unregistered trailers, 3 of them of which were towed by our Lovey's Towing. Denied entries, we only had 2. It's mainly, I was usually the ones that doing the ramp enforcement. However, I've been switched to full-time for the ramp. So, full-time to the lake 5 days a week. So that's why those numbers have come down. We had 41 vessel checks, Oak Island bylaws for 3. That includes like grills and open containers down there. We had 46 voyage terminated, so 46 boats that were either not complying to our rules or spoken to multiple times throughout the month that they were escorted back to the ramp and advised to leave for the night. And it was 197 total incidences for this month. Last month we had 86. I did look at a stat. I'm the one that does all the stats for the department, and last year was very much a lot of rain, so we didn't really have any statistics. But the year before, the amount of incidences, the amount of boat stops for the whole year of 2022 was 86. To put that in reference, we've had 122 just in June. So year to date, we're up around 146, nearly double the amount of, as you said, pressure to the lake itself. So I see it working. I've been on the lake for about 6 years, and I personally feel, as well as what she said, that it seems to be working. The more that we're out there and the more that we're visible.
Okay, is that it?
That's it, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all you do.
Yeah, on behalf of the department and for safety on the lake, thank you very much. If I can, Mr. Chair, again, in the month of May, there was 86 total incidents reported, and on the month of June, okay, this month, right here, June?
June.
Yeah.
Just up to yesterday, so.
And then the month isn't even over, there was 197 total incidents. So you can see that there's a lot going on. You already reviewed the issues. Again, thank you very much, because in plain English, it's necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What's up? Sergeant,
Well, we spent 90% of our time on Flint Pond so far this summer. We've only been on the Big Lake, I think, 3 times this summer.
is that you guys out there?
What's that?
Is that you guys out there?
Yes.
What, huh?
I think we talked to you a few times.
Thankfully, they didn't catch me doing anything.
And because of the mutual aid we have, we've also been covering the boat ramp over at Flint Pond. My captain's been putting guys checking vessels coming into Flint Pond. So these are all Flint. I don't have any Big Lake stats because we only on Big Lake like 3 times. These are all Flint Pond. 45 violations, 15 safety checks, 11 people. We've interacted with 11 people on Oak Island. We told them that they can't grill or anything like that. At the boat ramp, we have 8 denials, and we've terminated 11 voyages for various reasons. Some of the violations were speeding, fire extinguisher, whistles, registration. The violation from the ramp, the headway speed from the ramp into the main area of Flint Pond. Reckless operation. What are some of the things? We had to actually tow 3 jet skis from Flint Pond back to the ramp. And that's all I have for Flint Pond. I mean, we're going to continue to concentrate over there.
All right, that's actually good news.
But it's, I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of police presence on Flint Pond hasn't probably been like that in probably
A long
decade,
time,
probably a decade.
yeah. I mean, I meant Mass Environmental would come over with the jet ski every
Yeah.
once in a while and, bag a few people, but,
And, thanks to Point Rock for allowing us to, dock our boat there, make sure, it's accessible and we get out there.
right.
So 4th of July weekend, we will be out there. I think both our boats. We actually have probably a boat, even though we don't think there's issues at Flint Pond during the fireworks, we're still going to have a boat at Flint Pond during the fireworks, just in
Okay.
case.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, to kind of follow up with both you guys, it seems to me that things seem to be tamping down a little bit. Certainly, this activity is a welcome thing, and I think it's been effective. Oak Island's been an issue. I'm there. I see it every day. So it's significantly calmer than it was last year. Even with all the rain we have had last year, it seems to be calming down a lot. And you brought up a thing that we don't have. And one of the issues with the buoys, just to let everyone know, is that we have a bunch of buoys on order that we want to put in different spots. Unfortunately, Flint Pond is one of those spots that didn't get any buoys this season yet because you can't find them in the country. Nobody has buoys. All the places, and the buoys that we're using are of a pretty good quality, but they will not sustain a hit from a prop or a gunshot probably. I haven't heard any things about gunshots through it, but so it's kind of a hard thing. It astounds me that we get so many prop marks on a buoy, on a no-wake buoy especially.
They must back into them.
I don't know what they're doing. I was out there, I saw a jet ski both last year and this year, basically doing donuts and using the buoys at Corzini for a slalom course. So, that's a blatant violation. But that all said, we do plan on putting buoys both at the north and south side of the Route 20 bridge. As Sergeant Garman brought up, I think also one would probably be appropriate going into the cove there where the boat ramp is at Flint Pond to slow everyone down. Even though they're not supposed to be speeding down there by law anyway, but we'll put one there just so everyone understands it. And there's another narrow part at Witch Rock Island that I'd also like to put buoys at because that's a dangerous spot and there's a swim area right there as well. So I really appreciate the effort that law enforcement has put in down there, and that it's having an effect, like you said. I still think that there's we have some issues with that. We're going to talk about that in a couple of line items down regarding jet ski operation on Lake Quinsigamond. But I really think that that it's working with the efforts you have.
Mr. Chair, also, this past weekend, Regatta Point and Lake Park have been locked up. They're locked up. And I'm in charge of patrol now. I got promoted to lieutenant, so I'm in charge of patrol 11 to 7 now. And we went by. I had guys go by there because of complaints of loud music, and both parks were locked with padlocks and stuff like that this weekend.
That's going to be well.
I didn't know that, but I saw it this weekend at like 2 in the morning when I drove by. And there was a call for loud music. However, it was actually a boat on the water. Shrewsbury PD notified us about loud music coming from like Regatta Point. It was actually a boat on the water. It wasn't. I had guys going back and forth between Big Y, the old Big Y, Regatta Point, and then it was nothing at Big Y, and the parks were locked up.
Right. So we've got some complaints about,
Yeah.
and they were specifically boats on the lake.
But being in charge of patrol 11 to 7, knowing that it's a problem, I'll make sure my guys
All right.
will look at it.
So
This is my last meeting.
is it? You're laughing. No, we won't. I'll call the chief. We really want you to stay. All right, so, well, thank you for all the stuff you've done, and it's been effective, and I apologize, I missed, the observant
okay.
person that I am, I missed that the chevrons.
Just happened Friday, so.
The chevrons were gone on your shirt, so,
But I might be here next week next month, introducing the new Sergeant, Jeremy Smith,
okay,
just so he knows what's going on.
okay. So does that mean you're not gonna be riding around in a boat anymore?
No, I'm still in charge of the boat right now, because, until Jeremy gets certified.
Okay.
On the boat.
Perfect. All right. Again, thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
On the promotion.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good for you, bad for us. Any other comments about?
Oh, I guess I have one, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Now that the lake is empty early in the morning from 5 to 8 from all the college crews, the Masters rowing clubs are out there and been really rowing, I guess, up to full force. And I must admit for myself, it's really enjoyable compared to what I hear at these meetings at 5 and 8. I guess all the jet skiers are still asleep.
Of course they are.
And the sailboats aren't out because there's no wind yet. And it's very nice and very peaceful going up and down the lake at that time in the morning. Probably the only time during the day that it is. But everybody has to do their rowing because they got to be off to work by 7 or so. I guess I want to add one last comment to what Michael made. I've been rowing on the lake for over 10 years, and I can agree with him. Every time we have a rainstorm or a thunderstorm the night before, the surface of the lake that morning until the waves during the day pushes all the debris on shore or it sinks. You're going in a very lightweight boat down the lake at a really good speed, and you just hear tap, 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 tap from all the little branches and junk that's floating on the lake. It's unbelievable how much stuff comes out of all the storm drains and the couple of streams that enter the lake. That's all, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. To kind of flesh that out a little bit, that is the result of over 100 outfalls that we have along the shores of Lake Quinsigamond. Plus it's got 3 major highways spanning it, which also have pipes going directly into the lake. Although I believe the Burns Bridge kind of mitigated that a little bit with, because it curves the other way. But, that's what's gonna come out there. Unfortunately, you're run out of Corzini or Quinsigamond?
Quinsigamond.
So, the outfall at Belmont Street, so if you're going south, you're gonna hit more stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also an outfall coming out just north of the Regatta Point Beach, coming out of the
Yes.
UMass parking lot,
Yes.
which also has.
Coal Mine Brook and then the, near Gouch Beach, under the
Yep.
Shrewsbury Main Street there. That's where it definitely comes in the thickest, and
Yeah.
it has as far as I've been on the lake.
Yeah, that's probably coming both from, it could be coming from Coal Mine Brook, because that's, I believe Coal Mine Brook originates up by Lincoln Plaza and you got 290. So, I would recommend if during the rainstorm or right after the rainstorm, they didn't hang around underneath that bridge or look up. So, anybody else? Comments? All right, thank you.
Talked about the no wake markers at Witch Rock and
Yes, we already talked about that. So,
number 9.
when, just to stand in for a second, when we have buoys available, then we can kind of readdress that and see what we need to do. One other thing I wanted to kind of reiterate, or not reiterate, but flesh out again, Tim, is that buoy at Lake Park is somewhere.
Right.
It's floating around out there somewhere. I know it is.
I looked all over today
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to find it.
We lose that one, occasionally, not as much as we lose the one in front of Fitzgerald Brook. But, they do get away sometimes, the waves and all that stuff will pick it up and move it around. I mean, someone could have stolen it, I guess, but
The only thing I
that'd be a
haven't
nice
done-
thing to carry up that bank, and if that's what they.
Right, that's the only thing I haven't done is actually stopped at Lake Park and walked up to see if it's sitting on the beach somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's probably out there someplace. Did you put a buoy at the shallow spot by, I don't know what the name of that island is. I just know that Jared Bosco owns it. It's over in Old Faith Cove. And it's
I
down
believe
way into the cove.
I believe Sean put a buoy.
Okay, so that's not the drifter.
No,
Okay.
the one that I put at the Narrows was one of the ones that was up by the North Quincy boat ramp. That was one of the 7 that we have there.
Yeah.
One had drifted way away. It was coming southbound. I just grabbed that one and pulled it
Yeah.
up just to at least have something at.
No,
the
I think
Narrows.
it's a thing a good thing that you did that.
Right.
That's an important spot right there to slow everyone down. You know, and I can say from the neighbors who live right there, you know, we're not getting 100% compliance, but we're getting, you know, way more compliance than we had before we put the buoys up there, and I think that's a good thing.
And the good thing, I noticed last night when I put the buoy up is I actually grabbed one with a working light. So now we have 2 of them that are at the Narrows with the working lights.
Right.
So that's great. And me personally, I think most of the prop hits on the buoys are the ones late at night when it's dark and there's no light on it.
Right.
That's where we're getting them destroyed.
Okay.
That's just my personal belief, but.
That's probably accurate. I will ask everyone those watching that's on the lake that, and people who are here, you know, be careful. You know, the speed limit at night is 20 miles an hour if you have visibility. So what that means basically is you have to drive to the conditions. So if it is no moon and it's pitch black, dark out there, don't go 20 miles an hour because you're going to run over a buoy. Because by the time you see it, it's going to be too late. So you should be basically going almost headway speed at that kind of light in there. But even when the moon is out and you have a light, you know, if there's fog or cloudiness or any kind of overcast conditions, you have to drive to the conditions. That's the way that the statute is written. And you know, you have to please be careful of those buoys. They're out there for your own safety, and you know, and they're expensive. So so please be careful. All right, number 9, discuss and possibly act on regulations regarding PWC use on Lake Quinsigamond. This is worded differently than I actually wanted to do. I just wanted to discuss the use of PWCs on Lake Quinsigamond. And, you know, it can be an overwhelming problem, as we heard. You know, law enforcement is doing a really good job of bringing this under control. As Marguerite also reported that, and I share this belief that it is getting better, but there's still some incredibly dangerous activity from jet ski operators on Lake Quinsigamond, and it's not a like once in a while occurrence. It's daily that this kind of stuff is happening. And this mostly involves speeding and, you know, driving recklessly and doing donuts and all the fun stuff that you want to do when you're on a jet ski. We obviously had a jet ski hit a sailboat this week and take off, which is, you know, a double whammy when you think about that. It's bad enough that you hit the thing. I believe probably the operators were scared because they seemed to be young but the other part of that concern also, something Marguerite brought up, that you know, as far as rentals go, it is against the rules of Lake Quinsigamond to do any kind of motorboat rental on Lake Quinsigamond without a permit from us. So anyone who's out there operating a rental business on here needs to take notice that that's not going to be tolerated if we catch you. And one of the reasons, and I fear that this may have been a cause of this, but, you know, I don't think they're checking IDs when they're renting jet skis to people. You know, they could be younger operators operating them. They're not teaching people how to operate a jet ski. Seems to be no education except that squeeze this and it goes fast. it's going to be, it's causing problems. And I think that, 90% of the problems we have with jet ski operation is obviously the operator. And it's probably because the operator doesn't know any better. But there is a large portion of operators that do know better, but don't follow the rules and just refuse to do so. And, they'll also break other rules while they're doing this. Rules like, you're not supposed to say any inappropriate language to other boaters or inappropriate hand signals and things like that. So, circling of boats, weaving in and out of boats, even if, you're not speeding. If you're going 30, 40 miles an hour, and 40 miles an hour is the speed limit on a day in Lake Quinsigamond, you can't be doing 40 miles an hour, in any vessel, on a Sunday or a Saturday, zooming up the lake, weaving in and out of boats, because that causes a hazard. There's no brakes on boats. Often there's no way to get out of the way of something if it's heading toward you. If you do enter the water on something like that, which has happened in the last week or two, the people have, come off in a jet ski. I know in Flint, on Round Pond, it happened that the two jet skiers hit each other in the Narrows at Witch Rock, and both of them came off the ski. So off their skis, respective skis. And they weren't even coming head to head. They were side by side. So, these kind of safety concerns and negligent operation, as you can tell, if you get caught doing it, you're going to get a citation or worse. Every offense on Lake Quinsigamond is arrestable. So, just bear in mind. So then when you do get stopped, this is another report I've been hearing a lot, is that you're disrespectful to law enforcement. These guys are out there doing their job. If you're out there operating a jet ski and, you're doing it negligently and you get caught, don't give the person a hard time because you did something stupid and you got bagged doing it. It's bad enough that you did what you did. It's really bad when you either try to get away, which has happened, and most of the time, or at least some of the time, I know it's been unsuccessful when they try to get away, and then you start giving an officer a hard time. So it's a tough enough duty out there. I would ask everyone to respect things. If you're going to drive like that and you get caught, then you probably should take your medicine, or don't drive like that. And those are warnings not just for jet skis, but for all operators of boats. But it seems to me that we're having most of the problem with jet skis. Another thing to come on and Michael's report. We have rules about mooring boats on Lake Quinsigamond, which is basically you can't do it. There's a Rule 6 and Rule 8. Both mention mooring a boat on Lake Quinsigamond, and it's not generally allowed to do that. The reason is because Lake Quinsigamond is the shape it is, and it's kind of narrow. No one's expecting the boat to be hanging around out there at 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of times these boats aren't lit up, which should never happen. You should never be on the lake after dark and your boat's not lit up for any reason. If your lights don't work, then paddle to the nearest shoreline you can, and don't operate the boat. That's the one thing. Also, there's been complaints about loud music, as we heard, and this is late, 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. It's blasting out there. There's also a rule that says there is no amplified noise. And during our
From 8 p.m. till 7 a.m.
from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. And some of you who attended the subcommittee meetings may remember that that's a request that Chief Anderson had asked us to come up with some kind of amplified noise code. But we actually have an amplification rule on Lake Quinsigamond that no amplification, including your radio, bullhorns, regardless of what it is, PA systems, which is what some of these boats have on them, after 8 p.m., shut them down. They're not allowed, period. So law enforcement has every right, if they catch you out there doing it and it's loud music, to come over and shut it down. And what's happening out there a lot of times is law enforcement will approach the vessel, tell them to turn on the music, If the people in the boat don't recognize the footprint or the signature of the police boat coming at them and shut the music down before they get there, yeah, that doesn't work. Like, we know you're making the noise, so if you have to go over there more than one time, then, I would ask that law enforcement just, move the boat off the lake. Because that's the only way it's gonna stop these guys. So there's a rule in place. You can't you can't have any kind of amplified noise after 8 p.m. and not again until 7 a.m. So that's that part of it. Any other discussions on the jet ski thing? Sure.
Well, just to follow up a little bit, when you were talking about the mooring of boats.
Yeah.
and whatnot, I've noticed that, and I don't know the exact size of these boats, but they seem to be getting a little larger. You know,
Oh, yeah,
They're pushing-
sleepovers.
Correct,
Yeah.
they're pushing the limits, and they tend to stay out overnight, and they're also causing larger and larger wakes, even more than a wake boat
Yeah.
would normally, and they cruise at a speed that almost seems like it's intentional. So,
I think it's intentional, but maybe not for the reason we're thinking. I think it's intentional because they think they're going slow. Most people when they're driving a boat, I've noticed this, throughout my, I've been driving boats since I was 5, so that's so 64 years. I think they think they're going slow, but no one's looking behind them to see how big their wake is. So going forward, you're going, I'm only going like 14 miles an hour. I'm cruising around. I'm under the speed limit. Everything's okay. And you look around, and your wake is lighting up every dock you go by. So and bouncing off the shoreline and everything else. So yeah, you need to kind of keep it quiet. One of the things that I would not want to see out there is that we're setting up, as Mr. Piker had said, little floating hotels. The people are staying out there all night, because what happens is the behavior behind it tends to break other rules, like the amplification rule, for example, and also the navigational hazard rule. So that's why we're very careful about that. It's just the geography of the lake. This lake is approximately 5 miles. It's 772 acres, so it seems like a big lake, but it's got all the characteristics of a small lake. I mean, that's where we are. I mean, going through the North Basin and the South Basin, and the lake is 500 feet wide at best, most of the places there. So that's not the characteristic of a big lake. That's not Winnipesaukee or even Webster Lake, which is twice the size of Quinsigamond, almost 3 times the size. No, twice the size. I guess it's 1,400 something. By the way, because I hear this all the time, is that, Webster Lake doesn't have jet ski issues, and, they're not having the problems we're having here and all that. They can charge more money at their boat ramp than we can, and why is that? And that's why we need to raise the fees. We monitor the Webster Lake Watershed Association page. I can assure you that is not the case, not now, and not since last summer. Someone found out that they actually have a state boat ramp on Webster Lake, and that they actually can put jet skis in there, and they're doing it. And these guys are overwhelmed. And unlike us, they don't have the law enforcement presence that we have. So it's getting out of hand. And it's not just Webster Lake; it's Manchug, it's Lake Shirley. I was in discussions with Captain Amati. It's all over. So it's not just Lake Quinsigamond. And on the other side of it, with the jet ski part of it too, is that I'm in contact. We catch up every month at least with the executive director of the American Watercraft Association, which is basically the American Jet Ski Association. And Chris is saying the same thing as we're saying here, that it's going all over the place. And these folks are banging their head against the wall because they know, especially in Massachusetts, that it's a problem. And they don't want to see jet skis get banned. And they're trying to work every way they can to do things. And they're, calling for increased law enforcement and all that. And, that there's all challenges to that part of it. But they're also advocating, and I would ask you, and again and again and again, I'm going to keep asking you to ask, your reps to talk about getting a boat license statute passed in Massachusetts. We've had bill after bill that just die in committee somewhere. I don't get it. I don't get why this is a big issue. And our neighboring states are all doing it, or have done it already. So that would take care of a lot of the problems, but it will at least give law enforcement the ability, if they do stop somebody and they don't have the right papers, they can terminate the visit to Lake Quinsigamond. Yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, yes.
Just if I can add just a couple points. A few years ago, we had to institute a length limit in terms of boats on the lake, and that was 30 feet, I believe.
Yep.
Someone who has a boat that's 30-plus feet, honestly, come on. You should be taking it to the seacoast, which isn't far away, and there's a lot of places you can stretch that boat out, we'll call it, all right? That's ridiculous. And, you brought up the issue of wakes. Some people aren't going to like to hear this, but it's the truth. There are a number of states who are now considering banning wake boats that create big wakes because the people who live on those waterways are sick of their docks and their shores being knocked about, okay? And when I say a number of states, like I think like 22 states. Really? Yes. There's that many people that are getting tired of it. Wakeboarders should take note of it, try to do what they do in an area that's going to have least impact. Word to the wise, okay? And, and everybody, they've heard me here before, obviously, in terms of jet skis, personal watercraft, but, I've had more thoughts on it, and if there's too much saturation of the lake where it's unsafe, maybe we have to consider something like June, July, and August. Strictly, personal watercraft can't be used on the lake for 3 months. Which is the obviously busiest time of the year for people using Lake Quinsigamond for kayaks, other boats, all right? But I just throw that out as something that this commission may have to consider in the future if there's just that much unsafe saturation, okay? And I'm not going to argue this point anymore other than you heard the stats, there's been a lot of concerns in terms of how jet skis are operated in the lake, and all I'm saying is if at a certain point there's such saturation of them and it's making things unsafe, hazardous, you might have to consider something like I just suggested. I'm not making it a motion tonight. I'm not looking for us to discuss it necessarily any further. I'm just articulating my concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. I'll again, I agree with Mr. Polito and Mr. Piker on the big wake thing, because it's happening all over the place. The other part, besides it's dangerous to other boaters and people's personal property, it does in fact, significantly affect the shoreline. And we're seeing trees falling on Lake Park, for example, where it's just eating away at the bank in there, and all the trees that were closest to the water line there, well, not all of them, but we have lost trees over there because of the erosion of the boats. And again, they're not all wake boats. It's just a boat that can make a big wake. So we're getting more rain now.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like so.
Mr. Chair, I have one thing
Sure.
with the wakes, if you don't mind. Since you guys are pleading for the public, I just want to remind the public that waking a police boat in its official business and duties is also illegal under negligent operation. So if anyone's watching, please headway speed when we're in the middle of the lake dealing with the jet skis, dealing with any other vessel that we may stop. If you go by and wake us, our boats are crashing into each other. We have computers on the boat. We're able to run everything, check vessel sizes. We do, like you bring up a point, there's 3 or 4 that are floating around the lake right now that are 29, so they're right on that limit. But just please, if you see a police boat, Worcester, Environmental, Shrewsbury State, please slow down and just help us do our job to make the lake safe.
And help yourself do your job of obeying the law, I guess.
Mr. Chair, can I make
Sure.
a couple of quick comments? Just regards to that, Most people in the lake probably noticed that all the colleges and boat clubs replaced their boats with no-wake boats in the last 5 or 10 years. So there do exist a whole class of boats that don't make wakes. They're narrow pontoons on each side. Water goes underneath the center as well. So they go quite fast, particularly during regattas, and they make zero wake. So you don't, a lot of people have existing boats and can't replace them, but boats can be made and driven fairly fast up to the speed limit of Lake Quinsigamond without making a wake. So wakes on an essential part of the physics of driving a boat. My second point is a question. Have you got any updates on the current bill before the legislature, the Hansen bill? I think it's H 6632 or 31. Has that been updated at
32 or
all?
34.
Is it moving forward?
I don't have an update on that, but I'll get it for you.
And I just.
My understanding is it hasn't moved.
Okay, well, then I'd also suggest everybody in the audience here and watching and listening on TV, if you really are worried about the safety on Lake Quinsigamond, please call your state representative and ask what he's doing in favor of the Hansen bill to get everybody required to have what is equivalent to a car driver's license to operate a motorboat on a body of water in Massachusetts.
So to find, I'm just going to answer that question. So to find your state rep, and I don't know everybody's name specifically in Lake Quinsigamond. I know that Jim O'Day has the north end of Lake Quinsig and West Boylston, and Michael Moore is a senator, also a resource for that. Michael Moore has Grafton, Shrewsbury, and Worcester. So if you're in any of the communities that are surround Lake Quinsigamond, Michael
And
Moore,
Millbury.
and Millbury. Michael's your senator. He's a good guy. And Hannah Kane is Shrewsbury and Westboro, although Westboro doesn't, for our discussion isn't germane, but in Shrewsbury, and she's also a strong advocate for for her constituents. So I know that the rep in Grafton's David
Meridian.
Meridian. And I met this guy Daniel last year that's also a Worcester rep. So you can find him. But if you want to look up your specific rep for the neighborhood you're in, yours may actually be Jim O'Day, Marguerite. But Jim O'Day. But if it's not Jim, right, you can look up Mass Reps, House of Representatives. It has everybody on there. It has their picture, their contact information, the folks in their office, everything, and a map of where they cover. Okay, so you can go and find those guys on that stuff. But advocate, like Bill said, to get these bills passed through. I would also ask to advocate for more resources for law enforcement. The state's going to basically deal. We got a $50,000 appropriation through Michael Moore, actually, for overtime for law enforcement that's going to be run through the MEP, the Massachusetts Environmental Police will handle that. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, but so that's because we advocated for stuff, and we got to keep doing it. It's all about the money on that hand of it, and there's a lot of expenses like training, like Sergeant Smith, yes, is going to be going through, and Shrewsbury has trained a bunch of officers to qualify in the boat, both as operators and I guess I don't know what they don't call them, assistants.
We're still calling them assists, I believe.
Assist, yeah.
But they're all
So,
trained.
because we really want, 2 people on the boat if possible. And Officer Charlin brought up a fantastic point. You can't buzz a cruiser when it's sitting on the highway, having someone stopped. Same kind of thing, only worse on a lake. Is it's a dangerous game to even stop somebody on the lake. But when you're bouncing around out there, it's just it's just no need for it. So again, be aware of where you're going. Be aware of what's behind you, not just what's in front of you. Be aware of what kind of wake you're making. I'm going to ask. I've seen the no wake launches in action, but when we declare a no wake zone, or when you're going through a no wake zone, I still want the no-wake boats to be going 6 miles an hour. Because it's not just about speed. It's about visibility and your ability to react and to stop if there's something coming around. So that includes under all the bridges and in any spot we have obstructed views, other spots where we have obstructed views like Kings Point and Witch Rock. And yes, there are crew boats in Round Pond and Flint Pond. They do go over there. And, you know, Ron Pond, for example, from a jet ski operational standpoint, the whole south of the Stringer Dam, Ron Pond is kind of a raceway. And as I mentioned, that's where we saw an accident with jet skis over there. So it's happening. So I'd ask everybody to you know, just to, you know, use good judgment when you're out in the lake. I know it's out there. Everyone wants to have fun, but you can still have fun and not be a danger to your neighbors. All right, we beat that enough.
Item number 10, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Update Lake Quinsigamond Lake Management Plan on the, and this is the, when I say lake management plan, we just talked about lake management, but this is pertaining to you know, vegetation management. I'm going to just kind of tee this up, and I'm going to hand it over to Katie to go through. I really appreciate Katie's efforts. This has been a very collaborative relationship we've had over the last, I don't know, 18 months or so, I guess now.
Not 8 yet.
Huh? Not 8 yet?
Not even 8 yet.
When did I meet you in Panera? That was only 8 months ago?
Yep. Just
Seems like forever. Seems like I've known you forever. Anyway, so 8 months, not even 8 months yet, but it's been very effective, and we're moving things forward. I will say this, that our vegetation management is a significant endeavor. And you know, there's permitting, there's application of the chemicals themselves, there's going out for bids. There's a whole bunch to it that's not just going in and, you know, dumping a bag of chemicals on top of the milfoil. As everyone knows, because we've discussed it ad nauseum, is, you know, we have an endangered species here which we have to kind of tiptoe around to do treatment. Good news is I think we figured out how we're going to do it. So we will be treating, hopefully we'll be treating areas at Half Moon and Old Faith Cove. Old Faith Cove we have not treated in any manner, besides going out there and doing a hand pull of water chestnut, since I've been on the board, or even before that. So that's nice. We've treated Half Moon Cove once, because we did and that was a chemical treatment, which we're not going to do this time, but we'll let Katie kind of go through that. But it is a significant endeavor, both in terms of time, expertise, and money. So I'm happy that you know, that we have the resources as far as money goes to do it. Worcester is putting down a big chunk of money this particular season. I think up towards of $50,000 to help us combat these things. We have, I think, 4 or 5 target invasives in the lake right now that we're going after. So all good thing all over the lake. Also, and things that, you know, that Katie's been involved in is the volunteer program that we have with and Barbara as well, and the efforts that they've been able to organize in the volunteer level to combat probably the most dangerous thing we have in the lake right now is water chestnut. And we did a good job. We did a weed pull, I think, 2 seasons ago and knocked back the water chestnut that was in Round Pond. And I don't think they found a bunch of them in Old Faith this time either. So that's good. But if you go north of West Main Street on the lake, which is Mud Pond, there is a huge crop of water chestnut down there. And water chestnut is extremely aggressive. So it can take over an entire area of water like Mud Pond, and 2 or 3 seasons it'll just be covered with it. It already is kind of covered with it. I had a young friend of mine step on a water chestnut the other day with his bare feet. So that was a lesson learned to watch out with that. But that was just something that was floating all the way down south of the lake, as far south on Lake Quinsigamond proper as you can get. They do float around. People watch out for them. You see those little black, ugly-looking, spiky things. Don't step on it. And get it out of the water. Take it out of the water, and you can use it for compost, whatever, but just get it out of the lake if you see one. I believe that that's probably a benign one, but in any case, take them out of there.
So you let Katie speak.
Yep. So with that,
Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Katie Liming. I'm the Lakes and Ponds Coordinator for the City of Worcester. As the chair mentioned, I've been working with the commission and specifically with Peter on some management priorities for invasive species this coming season. Just to reiterate, these are not my decisions, of course. All management decisions are made by you. And thank you so much for dedicating your time to steward this really amazing resource, and specifically to everyone working so hard to both keep people safe and protect lake health. It's a big job, as you all know. So for a quick update on what I mentioned at the last meeting, the Lakes and Ponds program in Worcester conducted a check survey of the areas treated in Zone A last year, which is the northern section of the lake. So we did this early in the season to both see what we could observe as far as curly leaf pondweed, which is an invasive species which was not targeted due to time of year constraints. We did observe a dominance of native species, which is really great, specifically looking in the several patches of area that were treated in Zone A. We did see some regrowth of Eurasian milfoil in the northernmost section, which is directly south of the Main Street / Lincoln Street. So almost all of the regrowth that we saw was directly in front of the culvert passing under that street. So I think some of the limited efficacy might be related to flow underneath that culvert. But in general, we were pretty happy with how things looked early in the season. And all of this will be verified for late season growth when a comprehensive mapping is done by a consultant at the end of the summer. To speak about some planned management efforts for this coming season. So Peter and I are working with a consultant to help put together bid documents. The proposal at the moment, which is still being refined, is to address 25 acres of fanwort, Eurasian milfoil, variable leaf milfoil, and other species such as brittle naiad within Zone B, which is from the Narrows to Route 20. So stopping at where Flint Pond ends. This section is home to, as I'm sure you all are aware, the rare plant Vases pondweed. And so we're looking to use diver-assisted suction harvesting to remove the invasive species. So that will entail a boat going out, scuba divers going into the water to physically remove the plants by hand, and then they're then fed into a suction tube, so they're deposited onto the boat. So this allows, as long as visibility is decent, this allows you really excellent control over which species you're removing, and it means that you're able to avoid the rare plant, or able to avoid taking out native species that are beneficial. It's also very expensive. Costs can range from $2,700 to $3,500 a day, and typically a single acre can be treated in a day. All of this can vary a lot of course, there's a lot a lot of resources that we're fortunate to have, but also it's a lot of work to take care of a big lake. We're also looking to have, to do a treatment on 10, perhaps 10 plus acres of invasive species in Flint Pond. That scope is being slightly refined as well. All of this will be submitted to the Natural Heritage Program for final approval, and then we'll look to bid out the work. So I'm happy to pause there. I have a couple other updates not related specifically to plant management, but any questions on this?
Well set.
Also,
Just one quick thing. So, with the dash thing in the areas we're proposing to treat, how long do you think that's gonna take? You know,
It depends on the.
you know, estimate of,
Yeah, so it depends on the contractor. It's typical for 1 acre a day to be treated by one crew. Now, contractors could have multiple crews on the lake at the same time, or there's potentially some variation. Some might be able to perform faster there. So my recommendation would be to specify the time period that the dash must be complete by to align with the Natural Heritage Permit, which will end on the 26th. And then we'll have to talk more about the exact mechanics for purchasing, but have the time be constricted and then maybe have some variation in the amount that's done as part of the awarding factor.
okay, cool. So you think a couple of weeks?
Yeah.
That would take
Hopefully.
that would take to go in there and clear out, if we did say, oh, Faith and Half Moon.
Yeah, I think at least 2 weeks, potentially 3, might be all that we would have time for. It might be worth having the conversation if there's we can consult with TRC, the contractor helping us with the specs as well. But it might be worth considering the priorities between those sections of Round Pond, which are the shallow areas,
Yeah,
or Half Moon and Old Faith.
okay,
Mr.
Perfect.
Chair, quick
Sure.
question.
yeah.
I know the chemical treatments have certain small windows depending on which plant's being treated with which chemical that it's optimum. But the mechanical harvesting, can that be done over a much wider time period? It's not as constrained?
It's not as constrained. It is more constrained by the type of species that you're looking to control. So mechanical harvesting can be pretty effective for water chestnut, very dependent on the characteristics of the water body itself. They're very slow. They need a lot of space to operate. But depending on what type of water chestnut you're looking at, it could work. With species such as Eurasian milfoil, variable leaf milfoil, and fanwort, they all reproduce via fragmentation. So if you're with physical removal, mechanical harvesters go in and physically cut the plants. And so there's a very, very high risk of creating more plant fragments. And there's strategies that you can take to set up barriers to collect as much of the fragments as possible and prevent the transmission that way, but it's certainly a risk of making the problem worse.
Versus dash, where you would, you're sucking up as many fragments as you
Good
can.
calls.
When you, so it's kind of,
Yeah.
you're kind of cutting it down and backing it
Right.
up and cleaning it up in the spot. And, the mechanical harvesting itself is basically you're mowing the lawn.
Right, I was thinking
Yeah.
of
You're thinking of
all
dash.
of the
Yeah, yeah.
dash as a form of mechanical harvesting.
All right,
Apologies.
and, geez, I had another dumb question and I forgot what it was, so. Anyone else? All right,
Just a couple other quick updates. I will soon be drafting drafting letters to request extension of the Worcester and Grafton OOCs. on behalf of the commission, and we'll certainly be going through you folks. A natural heritage project plan is ending at the end of August, so and we'll be rewriting it for next management season. So the purpose of extending these OOCs is primarily to allow the drawdown to start in the fall, which will need to be permitted. So we'll request an extension of the OOCs with the understanding that we'll be kind of redoing it when the new natural heritage project plan is done. Last quick update, I just wanted to applaud and to thank the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association for hosting so far 2 out of 3 water chestnut polls. Everything ran really smoothly. I don't want to take away Barbara's thunder, but just wanted to say that I had a huge amount of fun going to the events. The City of Worcester Parks Division supplied kayaks for the previous Saturday event and for the Saturday event in July. So it's just been great to work together. Very thankful for everyone volunteering their time to make the lake a better place.
Thank you. Is that it?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie. Just one other thing is that the natural heritage, in case any of you don't know what that is, natural heritage is I guess the regulatory, specific regulatory division of the state that that enforces the National Endangered Species Act. So that's the people who we have to
Appease.
appease and get permission from to treat in Zone B specifically, because that's where the rare is. So they've been cooperative. That's good, and some of that's you can thank Katie for a good job with negotiating with those folks. So that's it. All right. So. Number 11, number 12, is a update from the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. Barbara Kickham.
Hello, I'm Barbara Kickham, Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. I just was going to give update on the water chestnut weed pulling. As far as the numbers go, we had about 30 volunteers on June 8th, and we had 30-some bags of weeds pulled, and they're much smaller at that time of year, so it was a real significant amount of weeds that were pulled. We had Katie, Gail had brought her Girl Scout troop, so we had about 8 of the Girl Scouts and a couple of their parents. We had a lot of volunteers from the City of Worcester, and also NUIPIC, who's sponsoring our grant, who's given us our grant. They had volunteers. We're down to the only community that is doing water chestnut weed pull on this NUIPIC grant from EPA, SNEP grant. I know it's a lot of acronyms, but New England Interstate Water Pollution Control Commission. They got a Southeast New England grant from EPA. And the other communities dropped out. They didn't have enough volunteers. There was just not, I don't know, there's various reasons. And then Katie also has hers with the Coast Pond, but other than that, we were it. So they volunteered to help us too. So we had a really good turnout, much better than last couple years, at least last year. And again, City of Worcester provided the kayaks, which was awesome. We had to go pick them up, but that wasn't a big deal. And we had a second, and that was all on the north end of the lake, in Mud Pond, north of the bridge, Main Street Bridge culvert. And then the second one we did, we only had about half a dozen volunteers, and it was July, I forget the date, but it was 12th. It was a Wednesday. We thought some other communities do after work kind of things. We didn't have many people showed up, but we had hardly any weeds over at Round Pond. Peter reported that. So we have really made a difference. 2 years ago, people were like screaming at us, they're never gonna get here. This is ridiculous. So we made a difference. We really did, and it's kind of exciting for that. But the number of weeds at the north end of the lake is an order of magnitude larger. We thought we had a lot south of Stringer Dam, but there's a lot up there. So we're gonna have another weed pull July 20th, on a Saturday. Again, we'll get some Girl Scouts. We've already got some volunteers. We'll have some kayaks, from the city. And, you know, we are also Newey Pick is in negotiations, or whatever. They just submitted another grant to include us for the next 2 years to support us with our bags and whatever incidentals we need to for that. But it is kind of getting beyond. It would be good to be assisting with the removal, but the primary, you know, acres of these water chestnuts, and since that's the upgrading end of the lake, it's going to continue to be a problem. So we'll keep chipping away, but we do need, I think, to think about either mechanical dash or herbicide up there, unfortunately. But we'll keep trying to do what we can do. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Barbara, thank you very much for this report. We also received from you in regards to outflows into the lake and the contaminants in them. I have a copy of it here. Thank you very much.
I also want to thank Shrewsbury Parks and Rec also for picking up the bags and getting rid of them for us. So that's obviously extremely helpful to do all that. They've been really good about assisting in that manner. And yeah, Barbara and I did a little tour of Mud Pond I don't know, a week or so ago, and she's right. It's an order of magnitude larger than anything else we've seen on the lake. We're pretty much down to the end here. I did forget to mention one thing, and I'll spend 2 seconds doing it. But basically, if you get a chance, go on to the Shrewsbury Media Connection YouTube page, look up the Machoon project, and because that was cool. They burnt the Machoon on Oak Island. It was a great thing. Thank you to the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission for allowing that to happen and to really accommodating the whole thing, and to law enforcement for their efforts down there to keep everybody safe. But it was really cool. It was a cool thing, and it was a very, you got the kind of, I was into it because I like the history of it, but it was nice. And they actually took the Machoon out, so we got to, we didn't get as far as we'd like. They came around the corner and saw the Worcester police there and turned around because they didn't have numbers on their Machoon. So, it was
Front page news on the Boston Globe a few days ago.
That's right. Yep. But it was a really worthwhile event. But there's video of it, and there's a whole description of how they do it and why they do it and all that stuff on this YouTube video that Mark Serra and the gang did at Shrewsbury Media Connection. So it's really a good watch. It's only a half hour. I'm thinking that probably Casey will be renting Machoons down at Regatta Point now because they're going to be so popular. All right. So that said,
Wait, one more.
Oh.
We still have to, from last month, we still have to approve the regatta for,
oh my God.
It did not make it on the agenda,
sorry.
but it was on last month's.
Okay.
agenda.
Yes, we do.
Do you need me to pull it up?
Yes.
Yes.
Just so the dates. Just need the dates.
Stand by, unless you know. You want to pull? Sure.
Yeah.
She knows.
Glad one of us is paying attention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Kara White. I'm the race director for the Fall Regatta
Yeah.
that we hold at Regatta Point. The date that we are asking for is Sunday, October 13th.
So Sunday, October 13th. Okay. And is there a ramp closing?
Yes, both ramps.
Both ramps?
Yes, please.
Both ramps.
That was October what?
You
13th.
you closing?
Just Corzini, sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yes, just Corzini.
What was the date?
10/13. Sunday.
10/13.
Sunday 10/13.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Have they paid for the permit fee of $150?
The
Mike wants to know
permits
where's the money.
It's in the mail.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's paid, do we have a?
Make a motion, we approve?
Second.
Can I just ask a
Any
question before
discussion?
we make the motion? Is this a head race? or-
Yes.
So it's using both halves of the lake then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good point. Okay, so, is there a second?
Stated on paying the fees, Mr. Chair,
Yep.
and having appropriate policing or, supervision of the event, I would second the motion then.
Okay.
Great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. One thing I will say, though, please, guys, if you take that buoy out of Lake Park, if we ever find it, right, put it back. Because last time, right after that, it didn't go back in time, and someone ran aground over there. That's what the buoy's for. It's not the swim area. It's basically so no one
It's a shallow
hits the
place.
beach. Yeah, okay? So just with that. All right. And our next meeting date, Madam Secretary.
Madam Secretary,
31st?
it's Wednesday, July 31st here,
Here.
here in this room.
All right. With that, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Oh, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second the
Second?
motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.